This story tells the love story between Huang Sheng and the two flower spirits, Xiangyu and Jiang Xue. It's not an ordinary love triangle but rather a relationship involving one husband, one wife, and one friend. To handle this unique relationship, the author carefully arranges the story's plot, demonstrating a high level of artistic craftsmanship throughout the entire narrative. Once upon a time, beneath Mount Lao's King Palace, there stood a winter-resistant tree that was 20 feet tall. Its trunk was so thick that it took several people to encircle it. There was also a peony tree, over 10 feet tall, whose blossoms were dazzling and captivating during the flowering season, resembling a burst of brocade. Zhaozhou's Huang Sheng fell in love with the tranquility and elegance of this Taoist temple, and decided to stay there and use a room as his study. One day, Huang Sheng was reading in his study when he happened to glance up at the window. From afar, he saw the figure of a woman in white robes appearing and disappearing among the flowers. Huang Sheng wondered how a woman could appear in a place where Taoist cultivation was taking place. He quickly rushed out of the study to see for himself, but the woman had already vanished. However, in the following days, he saw the woman come out again a few times. Each time, Huang Sheng hid in the bushes, waiting for her to return. Sure enough, she came again, accompanied by another woman in red robes. Huang Sheng saw the two young women, beautiful and radiant, complementing each other in their red and white attire. As the women drew nearer, the one in red suddenly stopped and whispered as she retreated, "There are living beings here." Startled but not wanting to miss the opportunity, Huang Sheng lunged forward. The two women were frightened and turned to run, their dresses and sleeves fluttering in the wind, leaving behind a strong fragrance. Huang Sheng chased after them over a low wall, but they vanished. Huang Sheng was filled with admiration and wrote a quatrain on a tree. Endless longing brings bitter pain, heartfelt glances meet fleeting moments. Fearful of sands and wind's offense, where can a perfect match be found? Mulling over the scene, Huang Sheng returned to his study, and the woman in white, Xiangyu, suddenly entered with a smile. Astonished and pleased, Huang Sheng stood up to greet her. The woman smiled and said, "I saw you earlier, looking fierce like a bandit, quite intimidating. Little did I expect you to be a refined and elegant poet. It wouldn't hurt to have a meeting." Huang Sheng inquired about her background, and the woman introduced herself as Xiangyu, explaining that she was originally from a brothel and was confined to the mountains by a Taoist priest against her will. Huang Sheng was indignant and vowed to avenge her shame. Xiangyu stopped him, saying, "No need. He hasn't dared to force me. I took this opportunity to meet with you, a charming scholar. It's not a bad thing." Huang Sheng asked about the other woman in red, and Xiangyu revealed her as Jiang Xue, her sworn sister. The two became closer as they talked, and that night, Xiangyu stayed in Huang Sheng's study. When they woke the next day, the sun was already streaming through the window. Xiangyu hurriedly got up, saying, "We played so much that we've forgotten the passage of time." While dressing, she cheerfully said to Huang Sheng, "I also composed a poem, a response to your grand work from yesterday. I hope you won't laugh. The night's pleasure easily wanes, morning sun has climbed the pane. May we perch like swallows on a beam, to live in pairs, as though in a dream." Hearing this, Huang Sheng was overjoyed, grabbing Xiangyu's hand, and saying, "You are not just charming and beautiful, but also intelligent and perceptive. You've truly won my heart. Just a day without you felt like being separated by 1,000 miles. Please find time to come." Not necessarily waiting until evening, Xiangyu agreed. From then on, the two would meet every night. Huang Sheng often asked Xiangyu to invite Jiang Xue as well, but Jiang Xue never came. Huang Sheng felt a sense of regret. Xiangyu tried to console him, saying, "Jiang Ji has a reserved and distant personality, unlike me who is so devoted. I'll slowly persuade her, don't be impatient." One night, Xiangyu suddenly rushed into the study with a sorrowful expression, telling Huang Sheng, "You can't even protect long, so how can you hope for Shu?" The day of her permanent separation has come. Huang Sheng was shocked, asking, "What do you mean? Where are you going?" Xiangyu wiped her tears with her sleeve and choked back her sobs, as she said, "It's fate, and it's hard to explain clearly. Anyway, the poem from earlier has come true today. The lovely lady now belongs to Shah Zali. The righteous scholar no longer serves as a county official. You can say that you composed it for me. Huang Sheng repeatedly asked for an explanation, but Xiangyu refused to speak plainly, only sobbing and crying. The entire night, the two stayed up without sleep. When dawn broke, Xiangyu left. Huang Sheng was puzzled and anxious. A few days later, Huang Sheng heard that a person surnamed Lan from Jimo County had visited the King Palace and taken the white peony away. Huang Sheng suddenly realized that Xiangyu was a peony spirit. He felt a deep sense of loss and wrote 50 elegies mourning the flower. He would visit the pit where the peony used to grow and weep. One day, after his visit, as he was returning to his study, he saw Jiang Xue standing by the pit, also paying her respects. Huang Sheng slowly approached, and Jiang Xue did not avoid him. Huang Sheng reached out and grabbed her sleeve, and the two stood there, tears streaming down their faces. After a while, Huang Sheng invited Jiang Xue to his study to talk. Jiang Xue let out a sigh and said, "We were once close sisters, and now we're separated forever. Hearing your cries made me even sadder. Your tears may reach the netherworld, and perhaps you will be moved by your sincerity and come back to life. But the souls of the deceased begin to dissipate, so how can we chat and laugh together?" Huang Sheng sighed as well and said, "It's all because my humble life was in the way and hindered my love. Of course, I wasn't fortunate enough to enjoy both beauties. I entrusted Xiangyu multiple times to convey my sincerity to her. Why didn't you come to see me?" Jiang Xue replied, "I thought a young scholar like you would likely be fickle, not realizing you are so genuine. But our relationship is built on friendship, not indulgence. If we spent all our time in sweet nothings, I couldn't handle it." With that, Jiang Xue was about to leave, but Huang Sheng quickly stopped her, saying, "Xiangyu's departure has already made me lose sleep and appetite. It's only when you're here that I find some comfort. How can you be so heartless?" Jiang Xue had no choice but to spend the night, but after that, she didn't return for several days. Huang Sheng was left alone, facing the cold rain outside the window, longing for Xiangyu. During the nights, he tossed and turned, his tears staining the pillow. In his pain and helplessness, he got up, put on his clothes, lit a lamp, and following the rhyme scheme of his previous poem, he continued to write. "Rain falls at twilight on the mountain court, by the window, I sit with lowered curtain. My longing heart has no one to see, tears fall in the night as a pair." Huang Sheng read the poem and tears welled up in his eyes. He also complained that he hadn't seen Jiang Xue enough. Jiang Xue consoled him, saying, "I can't be as enthusiastic as Xiangyu, but I can offer some consolation for your loneliness." Huang Sheng wanted to be intimate with her, but Jiang Xue declined, saying, "Why indulge in excessive joy when we meet?" From then on, whenever Huang Sheng felt lonely, Jiang Xue would come to spend time with him. They would drink wine and compose poems together, sometimes parting before the night was over. Huang Sheng would mockingly say to her, "Xiangyu is my beloved wife, and Jiang Xue, you are my good friend." Huang Sheng often wanted to ask Jiang Xue, "Which flower are you among them? Please tell me soon so I can transplant you to my hometown. I don't want you to be snatched away by evil people like Xiangyu and leave me with a lifelong regret." Jiang Xue replied, "Flowers and plants are like people, attached to their native soil. Telling you wouldn't make a difference. Besides, you and your beloved aren't even united yet, let alone friends." Ignoring her words, Huang Sheng pulled her arm and went into the garden, asking at each peony, "Is this you?" Jiang Xue covered her mouth and smiled without answering. Not long after, as winter was ending, Huang Sheng returned to his hometown for the new year. One night in February, he dreamed of Jiang Xue appearing, looking distressed. She told him, "I'm about to face a great calamity. Hurry and come, so we can see each other one last time. It will be too late if you delay." Huang Sheng woke up, greatly surprised, and immediately ordered his servants to prepare a horse. He rushed to King Palace beneath Mount Lao in the middle of the night. There, he saw that the Taoist priests were building a house, but a winter-resistant tree was obstructing the construction. The workers were about to cut the tree down, but Huang Sheng hurriedly intervened. That night, Jiang Xue came to his study to express her gratitude. Huang Sheng laughed and said, "Who told you not to reveal the truth earlier? You deserve this calamity. Now I know your true nature. If you don't come again, I'll definitely roast some mugwort and use it on you." Jiang Xue sighed and said, "I didn't dare tell you because I knew you would react this way." They sat together for a while, and then Huang Sheng expressed his longing for Xiangyu. He asked Jiang Xue, "Can you accompany me to pay respects to her?" So they went together to the peony pit, where they mourned for a long time. After about 1 more hour, Jiang Xue stopped their tears and consoled Huang Sheng. A few days later, one evening, Huang Sheng was sitting alone in his study when Jiang Xue suddenly walked in with a smile. She said, "I have good news to report. The flower spirit has been moved by your deep emotions and is going to be reborn in King Palace again." Huang Sheng stood up in surprise and asked, "When?" Jiang Xue replied, "I don't know exactly. It shouldn't be too long, I suppose." The next morning, as Jiang Xue was leaving, Huang Sheng held her back and said, "I came back to King Palace for your sake this time. Don't let me suffer in loneliness." Jiang Xue smiled and promised to come back later. However, a couple of days passed, and Jiang Xue didn't show up. Huang Sheng rushed to the winter-resistant tree, hugging and shaking it, calling out Jiang Xue's name. But there was no response. Huang Sheng returned to his study, grabbed a bundle of mugwort, and started to tie it together under the lamp, preparing to roast it and force Jiang Xue to come out. While he was doing this, Jiang Xue suddenly burst in, snatched the mugwort, and scolded him, "Are you trying to play a prank and give someone a burn? I'm breaking off our friendship." Huang Sheng laughed, embraced her, and said, "I was just testing you. I didn't really mean it." Then they sat down, and suddenly, Xiangyu entered the room with a smile. Upon seeing her, Huang Sheng was filled with tears, rushed up, and held her hand. Xiangyu held Huang Sheng with one hand and Jiang Xue with the other, and the three of them wept together. After sitting down again, Huang Sheng felt something strange. He felt like his hands were empty, as if he was not holding anything. He asked Xiangyu about it, and she tearfully explained, "I used to be a flower spirit, so I had substance and form. Now I'm a ghost of the flower, so I'm intangible. Even though we meet today, don't take it as reality. Think of it as a dream." Jiang Xue, on the other hand, joked, "Little sister, you've come at just the right time. I was about to be annoyed to death by your man here." She then bid farewell and left. Huang Sheng and Xiangyu continued to talk and laugh, but despite their closeness, Huang Sheng felt a sense of emptiness. Xiangyu also shared his feelings of regret, saying, "Mix white leeks with a bit of sulfur and water. Pour a cup of it into my former pit every day. And next year, on this day, I'll be able to repay your kindness." After that, Xiangyu bid her farewell as well. The next day, Huang Sheng went to the peony pit and saw young shoot emerging. Just as Xiangyu had said, he diligently watered it and cared for it, building a decorative fence around it as it grew. When Xiangyu visited in the evening, she was grateful for his efforts. Huang Sheng considered transplanting the peony to his hometown, but Xiangyu dissuaded him, saying she was still too delicate to handle the journey. She assured him that as long as they loved each other, their good days would come. Huang Sheng's wife eventually passed away, and he moved permanently to King Palace, forsaking his family. By then, the peony had grown tall and sturdy, its trunk as thick as a person's arm. Huang Sheng often pointed at the white peony and said, "In the future, I'll leave my soul here, on your left side." Xiangyu and Jiang Xue would playfully tease him, saying, "Don't forget your promise when the time comes." Over a decade passed, and Huang Sheng suddenly fell seriously ill. His son came from his hometown to visit and couldn't help but cry. Huang Sheng remained calm and smiled, saying, "This is the time of my birth, not my death. Why cry?" Then he turned to the Taoist priest and said, "When a red bud emerges from the peony and grows 5 tender leaves, that will be me." With that, he fell silent. His son took him back home in a cart, and he passed away peacefully. The following year, a red bud indeed sprouted beneath the peony. The Taoist priest was astonished and continued to nurture it. In just 3 years, the peony grew several feet tall with a trunk as thick as 2 hands held together, but it didn't bloom. After the Taoist priest's death, his disciples neglected the peony and eventually cut it down. Not long after, the white peony also withered, and the winter-resistant tree died as well. Yi Shishi commented, "When emotions reach their peak, it's truly possible to communicate with spirits and ghosts. The flower's death to become a ghost, still accompanied by its lover, a person's death transforming into a spirit, clinging to the flower's side. This is the profound result of deep emotions, isn't it? If people can't remain steadfast, it indicates that their feelings aren't deeply rooted." Confucius, when reading the ancient poem Tang Dai's Blossom, commented Wei Si, meaning not yet yearning. If you truly yearn, how can you find it far away? His words resonate here.
Alright, this story has come to an end. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. Thank you.